Turley, moonshot to center field, grand slam, Gavin. Just like that, Gavin Turley gives the Commodores the edge. Turley launches this one into left center. Drops in for a base hit. Turley cruises around first to second. A 2 RBI day and a 2-bagger for Gavin Turley with 2 gone here in the third. Gives the Commodores a 4-0 lead.
We welcome you live here on the deck at Jim's Clam Shack in Falmouth, Massachusetts. Baseball and beyond with Oregon State outfielder and Falmouth Commodore Gavin Turley. My name is MJ Newsom, one of the play-by-play broadcasters here for the Falmouth Commodores. This is a couple of Pac-12 guys yucking it up here on the East Coast. Gavin, thanks so much for sitting down with me today.
MJ, thanks for having me on. This is awesome.
Absolutely.
Beautiful spot. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, I mean, take it in. Right on the harbor, pretty sweet.
Yeah,
some boats in the background. It's pretty much exactly what you think of when you think of Cape Cod.
Yep.
So I want to start this real quick. A little story. So I know I've talked to you about it a little bit before. I've known who you are for a while. You caught some fame early, putting the Power Showcase. We'll get to that more in a second. But you, back when you were doing that, you used a gardening glove instead of batting gloves. And so funny enough, I saw that. There was one day when I was in high school, I went to go down to the cages to hit on a Sunday with my dad and my brother, and I realized I left my batting gloves. They were locked in the locker room. I was like, I don't have any batting gloves to use, but I was like, hey Dad, I've seen this guy Gavin Turley on Instagram. He uses gardening gloves. Went down to the hardware store, got some, and used them for that day. So you inspired me to do that. It's pretty cool. But talk to me sort of about why you chose to use gardening gloves as opposed to batting gloves back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a really small town up in Utah. So the accessibility to sports products like good batting gloves wasn't really a thing. So there's obviously gardening gloves and farm gloves all around. So kind of got in a broken pair from hitting in my backyard so much and kind of just rolled with it because I didn't want to change it and it felt really good in my hands. So that's about it though, just a small town type of thing.
So why did you choose to go to batting gloves now today instead of using the gardening gloves?
Because I get them for free.
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense.
That's about
makes a lot
it.
of sense. So this is your second summer here with the Falmouth Commodores. You've played a couple seasons at Oregon State. So just talk to me so far. How's the summer been for you?
The summer's been awesome. Playing out here in the Cape, it's adjustments every day, truly every day, and getting better and trying new things. And hey, what's working? So the summer out here in the Cape, you're facing a good arm every single day as well. So you got to show up no matter how you feel with your best stuff that day. So with that all being said, you're going to get better as a player out here.
What are some of the things you have done to try and get better as a player?
Yeah, I mean, I've been messing with my approach a lot this summer. Finding what works for me, trying to hone into a good 2K approach, and but yeah, looking to stay opposite field with a lot of my stuff lately, and it's been working. So yeah.
So for those of us who don't play baseball, talk me through and take me through a day in the life as a Falmouth Commodore player.
Yeah, for me it's 2 to 3 days a week. I go hit the Falmouth Sports Center gym, and if it's not those 2 to 3 days a week, I'm usually running the kids camps here. So that can get a little hectic at times with those kids, but I love it. And then that's how my morning starts after breakfast, and then around 12 to 1 I teach a hitting lesson. There's some kids that take lessons from me. Then I grab lunch and then play baseball. And then after that, it's just go to bed and repeat every day. So that's literally what it's been every day since I've been here.
So when you're teaching these hitting lessons, first off, what age are you teaching?
Probably 13 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you work on with those guys that are, kind of getting close to that competitive high school level?
Yeah, it depends. Different for each guy. But really just hoping to give them a good foundation of hitting. That's about it. Just lay down the basics for them. Yeah.
So it's your second summer, like I mentioned. What would you say some of your favorite memories or lessons you've learned here on Cape Cod?
Yeah, even just last night was one of my favorite memories. Just that game last night was beautiful, sunset, perfect weather. But all the memories off the field too. With my roommate Trent, we made with Travis last year. So many great memories. The 4th of July with Travis was awesome last year. But yeah, it feels like it's every day there's a new memory being made.
Talk about having a lot of fun off the field and on the field, and right now, it seems like you guys are having a lot of fun. I spoke to Isaiah Barquette last night after the game, and he said it's been the most fun week of baseball this entire summer. You guys have gotten points in 3 straight games. What are the vibes like right now in the clubhouse?
Yeah, it's very, everyone kind of knows each other at this point, and everyone knows what role they have to fill. So it's really fun. It's really, really fun with that kind of energy and connection between all the guys.
Awesome. So now let's circle kind of back to the beginning stages of your life. Just quickly tell me about growing up. Tell me about your childhood, baseball, school, friends, whatever.
Yeah, like I've already mentioned, I grew up in a small, it's called Midway, Utah. We just got our first stoplight like my senior year of high school.
Really?
So growing up, I'd help work on farms with my buddies, move cattle around. My whole entire family skis like crazy. We're in between 10 pretty much ski resorts right in the middle of all of them. I worked at a fly shop when I was 12 years old, tying flies for them. So honestly, not much baseball, but my dad had a good baseball background to lay the foundation for me. But other than that, it was a lot of outdoors. So.
You mentioned your dad, Jason, pitched in the Astros organization professionally. Your brother Noah also plays college baseball as well. How did those two guys kind of get you in a competitive spirit to play baseball?
Yeah, I mean, my dad knows a lot of people and knows the game really well, so it helps a lot when you have someone in the world already kind of shouting your name out and asking what this kid needs to do. But with my older brother, I always think like, oh, he's a few years ahead of me. I can kind of correct my path based off of his mistakes. So it helps me a lot in that sense, where I can work more efficiently. So, yeah.
What kind of lessons do you think you learned, and how did you get better by learning from two guys that are older than you, and your dad and your brother?
Yeah, seeing how they go about it and seeing how sometimes like this might work for Noah, whereas this didn't work for Noah, whereas I can kind of pick and choose what I think would work for me. But really the competitiveness of having an older brother and always wanting to be better than that, and always chasing that, has helped a lot.
You talk about competitiveness. We talked about it just a few minutes ago. Sort of you caught a lot of fame early. You were 13 years old. You're hitting home runs in Major League stadiums, doing these power showcases. First off, what was that like for you, hitting home runs in Major League stadiums at that young of an age?
Yeah, no, it was quite the stage to be put on that young. But I feel like as much as it doesn't necessarily like matter for recruiting or whatnot, I think it mattered a lot for when you get put on a big stage. You've been there before, so getting up there in a major league stadium and having to compete, and it's a big moment for a 13-year-old. Kind of get conditioned to those moments where it's like, all right, it's time to perform, time to go. So it honestly means a lot to my career to be able to do that at a young age.
So I mentioned the fame. I mentioned that I knew who you were a long time ago. What was that like, catching fame and sort of being a big name at that young of an age?
Yeah, it was interesting, especially from a small town. Like, no one necessarily believed that it was real, because I mean, everyone in the small town, I mean, they don't really care about fame, or they see it and they're like, ah. So for me, it didn't change much for my day-to-day living at home. Sure, there's more Instagram and more followers, but that never changed anything for me.
So you talk about growing up in a small town in Utah. You moved to Arizona for high school. Much bigger place, much bigger scene. What was that adjustment like?
It's kind of a kick in the face. Like, I get down there and I'm on one of the best high school teams in the country all of a sudden. And now, instead of being around just me and a JUCO kid back in Utah, it's me and 10 other D1 guys that are just as good as me in Arizona first day I got there. So that aspect changed a lot, but not only that, but I mean, living in Utah, it's a big Mormon state. Like, everyone goes to church there. There's hardly any alcohol around. And going to Arizona, especially Hamilton where I went, it's like a miniature ASU. So it's straight up just through, like, right in the party scene, everything. And luckily, like, I felt coming from Utah, I had a good head on my shoulders and knew what I wanted to do. But it was two huge environment changes for me. But it's helped a lot in a sense of getting perspective on how not one place is the same.
Take me through some of the struggles that you faced when moving to Arizona, because like you said, it was a big change, and I'm sure there was a lot of struggle.
Yeah, I mean, it took me probably, I want to say, like 7 to 8 months to really settle in with those guys. I mean, of course, I was friends with them on the field, but I didn't necessarily know how to interact with them off the field and what they necessarily like to do. I mean, after that, I mean, there's some of my best friends. I talk to them every day to this point. I mean, it wasn't anything too crazy, but I mean, there's definitely a lot of nights alone, but I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, nights alone in the batting cage never hurt anyone, so yeah.
You talked to me earlier about your competitiveness level with your dad and your brother. Of course, you were, coming from a small town, you're the best player there, but you mentioned you come to Arizona, you're with 10 guys, or, plus that are going to go on to play D1 baseball. How did that competitive nature rise?
Yeah, I mean, I've always thought, like, when you step on that field, you got to think you're the best on that field. And if you're not the best on that field that day, then you got to work to get better. So seeing what kids were doing out in Arizona and why they were good and how they were good, I was kind of nitpicking my own information and putting it into my own work to get better than them and to improve on a day-to-day basis. So that's how I kind of handled that out there.
So going to more the recruiting side, baseball recruiting, it seems like more than any sport happens a lot earlier. Mm-hmm. You committed to Oregon State as a freshman, and I'm sure you had a lot of exposure, like we talked about earlier, doing your power showcases at a young age. So what was your recruitment process like, and what made you decide to commit to Oregon State as a freshman? Yeah,
I mean, it started really early. I mean, before I had my license, which I don't think is okay, But I mean, I knew kind of a basics of what I want to do. I want to stay on the West Coast. I wanted to win, and I wanted to go somewhere where I'm gonna get better with good people around me. I mean, pretty simple. And looking at it from that, it's like, all right, well, what programs kind of fit that role? And Oregon State was just a national champion. They just had Adley Rutschman picked. And I went out and visited, and it was a small town up in Corvallis, and it was a perfect fit. So I was just like, might as well. I mean, might as well not wait because it's going to be this spot.
How did having your brother and your dad in your corner and watching them grow up and do the same thing help you through that recruiting process?
Yeah, no, it was good because I had a lot of good information at my fingertips. They let me make it be my decision as well, whereas I feel like a lot of kids get persuaded by outside influence to make a decision that they don't necessarily want to make these days. But it was really organic, to say.
You mentioned decisions. You had to make a big decision after your senior year. You were drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks in the 19th round. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose to go to Oregon State over going to play pro ball?
Yeah, I mean, out of high school, I thought I was for sure going pro ball. I really wanted to go pro ball. I was not a student out of high school. I think my GPA was like a 2.2 or 2.3. So I was kind of dead set on going to play pro ball. But as kids kind of went off the board for a lot more money than I was getting, I was just kind of like, I guess these teams don't see something in me that I see in myself. I mean, it's kind of simple. It's like, of course I want to go play pro ball, but I'm not dumb either. Like, I know the value of college and I know what I can get out of it. So when it was all said and done after the draft, I was like, oh, here we go. So here we come college, and next thing you know, like, now I'm getting my degree, and now I have a home to go back to with Oregon State, and some of the best people in the world up there at Oregon State to have that network with, and I couldn't be more blessed. Like, as much as it sucked in the moment, it's been one of the best things that's ever happened to me.
What was the recruiting pitch from the Oregon State fan base and coaches and players to get you to come there as opposed to going to the draft?
Honestly, not much. It was just like, I think Oregon State, like, they keep it pretty dead honest of like, hey, you want to get good, you want to come play baseball, you want to be with a winning program, come here. Like, there's really not much smoke and mirrors and things going on. So it's like, if you're going to do that, go ahead and do that, but your loss. And so not much of like, hey, we're going to do this for you, pay this. It's just like, come. And that's why I love Oregon State, is because there is no, I guess you call it eyewash there. It's just get good, play the game. If you're not good, you're not playing. Like, it's very, very simple baseball out there.
How long in your recruiting process did you know that Oregon State was the school? Because I'm sure you got recruited by many others as well.
Yeah, probably within 2 months of kind of looking at schools I knew. Didn't commit in the recruiting process for probably 6 to 8 months. But like I said, it was kind of that moment where it's like, hey, I could wait until my senior year to commit, but I'm going to be committing to Oregon State my senior year. So then I just committed to Oregon State. So yeah.
You mentioned Adley Rutschman earlier, one of, a former first-round pick. He's been a great catcher for the Orioles. Yep. There's so many high-profile players that came through Oregon State. You mentioned Travis Bazzana, Jacoby Ellsbury, Adley Rutschman, Nick Madrigal, Stephen Kwan. The list goes on and on and on. Yet you're the highest ever recruit in Oregon State history. What does that mean to you?
No, when I saw that, I was actually kind of blown away. But yeah, it's part of history at Oregon State. I mean, watching Boz break all those records last year, it's like, whoa, this is part of history, and I hope I can be like that. Like me being the highest recruit to ever come into Oregon State. Like I love being part of that history there, and hopefully I can break a few records this year to become even more part of Oregon State's history.
Talk about doing a lot of great things at Oregon State. You were first team All-Conference this year, third team All-American. Back in your freshman year, you hit a home run in your first collegiate at-bat. Just walk me through your journey in Corvallis so far.
Yeah, it's been quite crazy, but like exactly what I needed it to be from a standpoint of development and having the right people in my corner. Going through that craziness of first college AB, having a really hot start my freshman year, to having a struggle my freshman year, and having the coaches always in my corner and like never giving up on me has been huge. But no, it's been a crazy start, and it's a crazy town, especially when you have a name in the baseball world to be a part of.
You mentioned it being a crazy town. Utah, where you're from, your town was not huge. Corvallis is not necessarily the biggest city as well. How was that transition going, like you said, from Utah to Arizona, and then maybe back to a smaller place in Corvallis for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a smaller place, but it's a college town. So when the students show up and when people show up, they love sports and they know who I am. It's kind of rare that I walk into a restaurant out in Corvallis and I don't get recognized, or someone doesn't say, hey, let's take a picture or something like that. So it's one of the coolest things to be a part of, because a lot of some of my buddies, when they came up, they played on UCLA. We went out to dinner and someone ended up taking a picture, like, hey, how's it going? Like, big fan or whatever. And they're like, what the heck? They're just blown away with the thought or idea of being recognized in their town, which for me it's a normal thing at this point.
What's it like sort of being a celebrity around town?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. Sometimes I'll catch myself going out in slides, shorts, hair all messed up, like going grocery. I was like, oh, maybe I can't this time. Like someone's gonna see me. But I mean, other than that, like it's great. Like it's an experience I'm never gonna get back unless I make it to the bigs in a huge name environment. But yeah, I feel like it's preparing me for that type of mode.
You talked about how much you love the town, you love the fans. Oregon State's got one of the best fan bases on the West Coast. You watch highlights of the games, you watch the games, it's always packed. So what's it like to play in such a big environment with such a great fan base?
Yeah, I mean, kids have even noticed here, like we have Oregon State fans showing up to Commodores games, decked out in Oregon State gear, bringing chainsaws. Like they not only show up at Oregon State, they travel to Arizona. When we went to Cal this year, they overflowed Cal's fans. Stanford the year before overflowed Stanford fans. So it's like you're on the team that is the team on the West Coast. Like if you're looking at the West Coast, like that's the team to play for on the West Coast, in my opinion. So I mean, at home too. I mean, we're packing 4,500 people a night in a small stadium, and it feels like. I mean, we went to Kentucky and LSU and played in these SEC games, and doesn't feel much different than Goss Stadium at Corvallis.
So Oregon State's no longer in a full Pac-12. It's just you guys in Washington State. How will that change things for the Beavers moving forward this season, next season, and beyond?
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of playing it by year right now. We went independent this year, and we're getting an independent schedule. But teams want to play Oregon State. I mean, we're going to have a good RPI. We're going to play good baseball. So we already have our schedule set for next year, and we have no problem from what I've heard, getting teams on the schedule and making another run for Omaha. Just got to win.
I want to circle back to Travis Bazzana. You mentioned him earlier, a guy that you played with at Oregon State, a guy you played with here at Falmouth. Last summer he was sitting here with Destiny Sanchez. This year it's you. So just talk to me about your relationship with Travis Bazzana, a guy that just went #1 overall, first Australian, first second baseman to ever be picked #1.
Yeah, no, my relationship with Trav has been special to me. Like freshman year, I lived with him on the road the entire year when we went and played. And then last summer I lived with him over the summer as well. And then yeah, I got to play with him for a whole nother year. Travis is one of a kind mind, and I feel like me being around that on a day-to-day basis has helped me think about my game in a analytical and more of a business standpoint than I've ever thought about it before I met the kid. Because sometimes some days I'd come back like, this or this and this, and he'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, it's just this. And I'm like, yeah, you're dead on. But no, it's been very, very nice to get an inside look on how his brain works and how he went from being freshman year him to 410 with 28 home runs and 72 walks, junior year Travis, of him getting better every single year, has really helped me in the standpoint of, hey, how can I get better every single year, every single day, every single pitch type mindset.
And so Travis has now moved on, like I mentioned. He's going to the MLB, just got taken #1. And so in my eyes, there's 3 T's here with the Falmouth and Oregon State pipeline. You got Travis, you got Turley, and you got Trent Caraway. We've talked about Trent Caraway a little bit. He's a roommate up in Corvallis.
Yep.
You guys are good friends here. He's on the team. He's going to be an all-star. Tell me more about your relationship with Trent.
Yeah, Trent's a character. He's became one of my best friends. Very similar experience out of high school with him. Thought he was going pro ball, kind of dead set on pro ball, and didn't necessarily work out on how he wanted it to. And as soon as that happened, I had a room open up to in my house, and I was like, you are here with me. Like we're gonna work. We're gonna get going. And it's been amazing. Like I've always said, like surround yourself with great people. Like I mean that saying of, and yeah, he's one of those people that you can surround yourself with, and you'll become better off of him. And I think we feed off of each other really well. But having him as a roommate is really, really fun. He's a really fun kid to be around.
Outside of baseball, what are sort of those fun things that you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, heck, we honestly just do a lot of shenanigans, whether it's having a fire in the backyard or we both have a moped up in Corvallis. We got 2 mopeds in our shed that we'll kind of take for nice like sunset cruises. We like to go adventure. There's thousands of waterfalls out there in Oregon. So I mean, whatever that day calls for is kind of what we're doing, and we're both down for whatever. So it's really fun.
So all 3 of you guys, Travis, yourself, and Trent, Oregon State Beavers, Falmouth Commodores. How have both those teams and organizations shaped you into the baseball players and the men that you guys are today?
Yeah, going to Oregon State, like that's what they call it, is that they're in the man building business instead of the baseball player building business. And seeing how they send like their guys to the Commodores, it's an honor. I mean, our head coach played for Falmouth. He played for Trundy. So there's a history and a pipeline, you could say, a track that some of these kids follow, and to be on that track, like some days I'll be 0 for 3 and be like, dang, I suck or whatever. But it's like reality. It's like, look where I am right now. Like this, I couldn't be in a better spot. I'm in a very special spot. I'm at a great college. No matter what, like it's a success.
You mentioned Jeff Trundy, 25 years as the manager here in Falmouth. He's set to become inducted in the Hall of Fame in November. You played for him now for 2 summers. What has he meant to you?
Yeah, he's a guy that I honestly like. He shows up every day, and it's the same guy with a smile on his face no matter what's going on behind the scenes, and I strive to be like that. Yeah, it's something special because he doesn't change, and that's what you need out of a coach is a stable guy.
So going back real quick to what you were talking about, sort of the mental side of things. You said, you have games where you're 0 for 3, get down on yourself. You'll have games where you go 4 for 5 with 2 home runs and a double. How has the mental approach day in and day out in a baseball world where the game is just so tough?
Yeah, I think it's a tough question, but like I just read something the other day of like no matter how it unfolds, I will never lose a hold, like never losing a hold on reality and like what's actually going on. Like I just said, I'm at Oregon State. I'm in the Cape Cod. Like, look at where I'm at in life instead of where I'm at for the day 0 for 3. I think if I look at the big picture, it's much easier to perform if it's like, hey, I can have fun today. Like it's a good day to have some fun playing this game, and when you're having fun playing the game, it's much easier to go for 4 for 5 when you don't necessarily care about going 4 for 5, or you don't care about going 0 for 3. You're just having fun.
You talked to me earlier sort of about the day in the life of Falmouth Commodore baseball. It's a lot of work, a lot of baseball. You said you teach hitting lessons, you work camps. How do you balance out having some fun where your guys are playing 6-7 games in a whole week?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I feel like a lot of it's got to show up on the field in a sense, but when you get that off day, you got to make the most of it. Heck, I've been to the Vineyard twice now, so that's always been fun. Going to the beaches with the guys, watching movies, poker nights with the guys, all of that plays a big role in the balancing.
So I want to transition to something sort of off the field that has been revolutionary in the past couple of years, NIL. Mm-hmm. Not asking for any numbers here, but just walk me through the process of what it's like to be an athlete in today's college sports world with NIL.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot of noise out there right now, and I think it honestly makes it kind of easy to see which kids are chasing the money and which kids are chasing the end goal. Because you see kids hopping school to school, where can I get the most money? And that's kind of their end-all, be-all decision. Whereas, I feel like at Oregon State, I'm always praising Oregon State, but like you get the kids at Oregon State, like we don't necessarily care about the money. Like we know the money's in the end. Money's in being a Hall of Famer, being a big leaguer for 10 years. And so when the kids go to Oregon State and understand that, they're like, okay, well, when I stay here, that's going to put me in the best position possible to become one of those guys. And so that's why you really don't see, some of these SEC schools are having 25 transfers out of their schools now, and they got to bring 25 more kids in. And it's like, where's the family in that? Where's the development in that? Whereas I think we had 5 or 6 transfers out, and they were all like known kind of transfers out. So yeah, the NIL world, it's a crazy place to be, but I feel like it's pretty easy to navigate if you know what you're doing.
How does that culture at Oregon State benefit your program and going far to the Super Regionals like this year, going to Omaha in past years?
You said, how does it benefit our program? Like, the culture there, it's hard to find a guy that's been there that's like, hey, if you're thinking about Oregon State, I don't know. You don't find those guys that say no. Like every single guy that you talk to that has been to Oregon State is like, yeah, if you're smart, if you have any type of thought process, you're gonna go to Oregon State. And those are all the guys that I found even in my recruiting process. Talked to a few ex-players, and it's the exact same thing. Like, hey, if you want to play real baseball and have a good time, you're gonna go to Oregon State. So yeah, it's culture, it's legacy, it's history. So yeah.
All right, enough about the baseball. Let's transition to off the field stuff. Mm-hmm. I know you went flying this morning.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your favorite off the field activities. I know you said you've gone to the Vineyard a couple times, go to the beach, poker nights.
Yeah, that's a great question. I like to keep a good balance. Flying is awesome. There's a little plane I can rent out in Corvallis as well. Corvallis, Oregon's the grassy capital of the world, so you get up flying, you see all these grass fields, you can land the plane anywhere, so you have that sense of safety in your head. You don't have to land it on a highway like if you're flying in Arizona. Love flying. I wish more people would take an experience and try that, because it's truly special, and statistically it's much safer than driving. So that being said, but yeah, I love getting outdoors. Growing up with that outdoor background, I've explored a lot of Oregon. Kind of any chance I get, I go try to find a new place out there in Oregon. I drive a 20-year-old Toyota, so I can kind of beat on it, and that'll take me places. But yeah, anything with friends, family, outdoors, experiences, it's kind of what I do.
I want to stay on the flying for a second. Obviously, you said it's more statistically safe to
Yeah.
fly than drive, but how did you overcome the nerves of first getting up there, controlling a plane where if things go wrong, it could go south?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think where I kind of first got the idea is we're in Montana when I was probably like 15 years old, 16 years old for 4th of July. And one of the friend's dads has his helicopter license and landed the helicopter in the backyard and was taking kids up. And I was looking at it, I was like, this is just a dad right here. This isn't a pilot. This is a dad that knows how to fly. So that's kind of cool. And if he can do it, I can do it. So I started looking into it, and then once I got up, I was like, do I really want to do it? Took a few introductory flights, and then once I got up and got cruising in the air, and there's no traffic and no person swerving in your lane, and it's just you and the air and everything around you, it's like, I see why, like, it's a very calming and good experience to have. Yeah.
So that's just one of the cool things you do. You really have this sort of life of adventure and curiosity. You've learned how to fly planes. You can solve a Rubik's Cube behind your back. You took apart your car engine just to repair it. Like, what sparks this curiosity in you?
Oh, man. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know. I just feel like I'm always up for adventure, you know? Always trying to better myself. Like, wrenching on cars, I feel like just gives me a better understanding. If something goes wrong off-road, I can put it back together. I don't know, the Rubik's Cube thing was just something I'd do in church growing up. Like, and I wasn't allowed to be on my phone, but I could play with the Rubik's Cube. So, but yeah, I honestly don't know.
So it seems like all these things take a lot of patience. So would you consider yourself to be a patient person?
I'd say so, yeah. I'd say there's a lot of stuff that goes on that I'm just like, it doesn't really affect me.
So how does that patience translate from things off the field to in the batter's box, in the outfield?
Yeah, I'd say like knowing that I'm in it for the long run. Like, if the results aren't going to show up today. Like, I'm not going to be a big leaguer today. I can act like a big leaguer, think I'm a big leaguer, but knowing that I have a lot more room for improvement, I think that's how it translates.
So I want to go more towards your post-baseball career. We've talked about all the cool things there. You mentioned cattle back in Utah. You want to get into ranching after baseball's over. For someone like myself and maybe others who don't know what ranching is, sort of walk me through that.
I feel like it's a 24/7 vacation. Like, when I'm out there, like you just get to work on the stuff you own. You get to work on your house, work on the farm, or build fence, build a barn. Just make your property better and better every day, which I feel like isn't necessarily work, it's projects. And I love doing projects around my house. So why not live a life that's consistently that?
So what sort of sparked your interest in ranching?
I think growing up out there in Utah, it's a very like low stress kind of lifestyle if you have it set up right. So yeah, I think after knowing, kind of getting in that mindset and that mode of, hey, I'm moving hand lines and out here on the farm, there's no one around, I don't have my phone on me. I think after I got in that mode, it's kind of like something that I've always wanted to go back to.
So you've mentioned different places out on the West Coast, and I assume that's where ranching happens. You mentioned Montana, Utah, Arizona. What's your ideal landing spot for that?
That's a great question. I'd say Montana or Wyoming. A few parts of Idaho are beautiful. Maybe Utah, but probably Montana, hopefully.
So going kind of back into this last question, you've talked about all these things off the field that have helped you on the field. What's the biggest thing off the baseball field that has helped you become a better player?
Yeah, I'd say becoming a student of the game. I think there's a lot of information out there that kids don't even try to look for. MLB Network has thousands and thousands of videos posted of having conversations with Hall of Famers and what they did and what their hitting approach was at the plate. So I think me just starting to pick up on kind of what these guys before me have done and what's worked for them has helped me a lot. So yeah, but just becoming a student of the game and what works and what doesn't work and what really good guys have done, I think has helped a lot.
So you're heading into possibly your last season at Oregon State. Obviously, you got a couple years eligibility left, but you're draft eligible after your junior year. What are some of the things you're hoping to get out of your potential final season in Corvallis?
Yeah, I mean, one goal, why I came to Oregon State is to win. I hope we can go win a national championship, go to Omaha. But other than that, further develop relationships with the coaches and the donors and the family that is there, because it's a real huge, big family that runs very, very deep in Corvallis. So win and get to know more people and get to know the people I know better.
It's possibly, like I said, your final season. What's the impact you hope to have as the face of this program this year that'll last this year, the next couple of years and years to come?
Yeah, the impact I want to have is be a leader, go in there and kind of do what Travis did for me and what Wade Meckler did for Travis and what guys kind of before hand off the torch is what they say. And so hopefully I can do a good job on handing off that torch so more kids can come out of Oregon State and continue to be an elite program and be elite at developing. So I hope to be a part of that, of passing that on.
You're almost back to get into professional baseball, and you've done so much yourself to put yourself in this position to achieve a dream. I mentioned third-team All-American, first-team All-Pac-12. You've torn it up in Cape Cod. How does you conceptualize what you're doing and that you're about to possibly be, a professional baseball player?
Yeah, no, it is crazy. Like I said, keeping a hold on reality in life, like I've always thought to myself, like my goals and dreams and what I strive to do career-wise is huge and large, but also like if I snap my leg tomorrow, I'm gonna be able to look back on my career and be like, that was fun. That was a success, huge success. So knowing that I've already succeeded in this space more than 99% of kids is very, very special to me.
When it's all said and done, whether that's tomorrow, whether that's in 25 years, what do you want Gavin Turley's legacy to be?
It's a great question, but I don't know, someone that's always striving for more, someone that's always looking out for the guy next to me. Someone that's always picking the guy up. Someone that always knows that it's not that serious. Like don't get down on yourself. Like it's a game we play. Someone that keeps it in perspective a lot. When Trent comes in the dugout after a strikeout or something bad, I kind of push him around. Like, dude, come on, stop being a wimp. Like, it's not like, come on, let's go. So yeah, I hope I can always be known as the guy that, like, hey, kept the game easy flowing. So yeah.
You've got a couple weeks left here in Cape Cod. What are you hoping to get out of your final handful of games, and on the field, off the field?
Yeah, same thing that's been going on is getting better every day. I'm taking notes every day out here right now. So continuing to get as good as possible for this upcoming season and try to win out here with Falmouth. Because if you're not winning, why play? So.
I want to thank Jim and Jim's Clam Shack for allowing us to use this space today. Thank you, Gavin, for hanging out with me today. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate you telling me more about your life on the field, off the field, and best of luck to you in the future.
MJ, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Of course.